I might have destroyed my 20-year friendship over a lie, and now I can't stop watching her life get better without me. Okay, just tell me I'm a monster. Rip the Band-Aid off. Because I think I've done something truly unforgivable, and the silence that's followed is so much louder than screaming. I think I lost my best friend, Madeline, my person, and I might have single-handedly ruined her wedding in the process. All because of something I said, something I just made up. Her name is Maddie. We've been joined at the hip since we were 5. We were the kind of friends who had a shared language of inside jokes and knew each other's coffee orders by heart. I was supposed to be her maid of honor. I held the sample swatches of periwinkle blue fabric in my hands and helped her cry over the seating chart. We were supposed to be those two old ladies cackling on a park bench together one day. Then came Luca, her fiancé. And Luca, God, Luca is perfect. He's a pediatric resident, for Christ's sake. He's kind, patient, looks like he stepped out of a cologne ad, and he looks at Maddie like she personally hung the moon and stars. He was never a threat. He was the final, perfect piece of her perfect life. For a while, the three of us were this unbreakable unit, the golden trio. We did everything together. So how did I get here? In my dark apartment, blocked on every platform, staring at my phone like an idiot. How did I go from maid of honor to a ghost she won't speak to? I keep replaying that one conversation, the moment the world tilted, and I just don't understand how it all shattered so completely. I just need to know, is there any coming back from this? Or did I really just burn my whole world down for nothing? To understand why I did what I did, you have to understand the stage we lived on. Maddie was always the sun. I don't say that with resentment, not really. It was just a fact of our universe. She didn't have to try to be the center of attention, she just was. She had this effortless grace, a way of making everyone feel seen, which ironically made me feel even more invisible when I stood next to her. Her family had money, not in a flashy way, but in the quiet, comfortable way that meant life's sharp edges were always sanded down for her. Life just worked for her. And I was her moon, the best friend, the funny sidekick. The one who was always, always there, faithfully orbiting her glow, reflecting a light that wasn't my own. For years, I told myself I loved my role, and a part of me did. Being Maddie's best friend came with perks. I was pulled into her light, invited to the better parties, introduced to the interesting people. But there was always a tiny, shameful part of me that kept score. A part of me that felt a sick little thrill when I got a slightly better grade on a test, or when a guy at a bar hit on me first. It was a quiet, ugly competition that only I was playing. My life felt like the B-plot to her blockbuster movie. When she landed a coveted internship at a top marketing firm right out of college, I was working retail and telling myself my job had more character. It was a lie I needed to believe to keep from feeling like a complete failure. My attempts to balance the scales were pathetic and small. At group dinners, I'd become the designated historian of our friendship, but I only ever chose the chapters that made me look good. I'd tell a story from our childhood that was just a little embarrassing for her. The time she fell into a fountain at the mall, or her terrible middle school haircut. I'd frame it as, oh my God, remember this? We were so silly. Everyone would laugh, including Maddie, because she was too nice to see the malice behind it. But for me, for a fleeting second, it felt like I was controlling the narrative. I was the one holding the spotlight, even if I was just using her to power it. It was my way of screaming, I'm here too, I'm not just the girl standing next to her. Then Luca arrived, and the whole fragile balance didn't just tip, it shattered. At first, I was hopeful. I searched for flaws. Maybe he was secretly arrogant, boring, a bad tipper. But there was nothing. He was genuinely good. He remembered small details from conversations. He was passionate about his work with sick kids. And most importantly, he adored Maddie in a way that was both breathtaking and nauseating to watch. He wasn't just another boyfriend. He was endgame. The way he cherished her, the way he seamlessly fit into her perfect family, it was like watching the final scene of a movie, confirming my permanent role as a supporting character. He completed her picture, and in doing so, he made my own life feel so unfinished, so hopelessly second-rate. The invisible scoreboard in my head was flashing, and I was losing badly. The sun was about to become a supernova, and I was terrified of being left behind in the cold, dark space she left behind. The moment it happened was so disgustingly domestic. It felt like a scene from a movie I was forced to watch. We were in her living room, a space I'd practically grown up in, but it felt alien now. It was Luca's apartment, really. The air smelled like the expensive vanilla and sandalwood candle he'd bought her. Wedding magazines were fanned out across the coffee table, their glossy pages promising a perfect future. On the mantelpiece, a new silver frame held a photo of them hiking, both of them flushed with happiness and looking at the camera as if they shared a secret the rest of the world wasn't in on. Maddie was holding up two nearly identical swatches of linen, asking me if eggshell or ivory was better for the napkins. She was glowing, utterly, incandescently happy. And as she chattered on about place settings and how Luca had surprised her by booking the string quartet she loved, a thick, poisonous jealousy started to rise in my throat like bile. She was talking about napkins, and I was having an existential crisis. A voice in my head, the one that sounded like my therapist, was screaming, just be happy for her for once. But another voice, a hungrier, uglier one, whispered, what about you? When is it your turn? That's when the idea slithered into my head. It wasn't a plan, it was a venomous impulse. A dark, ugly need to matter more than the napkins. I needed to be the main event just for a minute. The lie came to me fully formed, a perfect little weapon. It couldn't be a direct accusation, that could be disproven. It had to be insidious, a poison of doubt that I could pour directly into her ear. It had to be about feelings, vibes, things that couldn't be photographed or recorded. Maddie, can I ask you something weird? I began, arranging my face into a mask of pained concern. I made sure my voice was soft, almost a whisper. She looked up from the swatches, her brow furrowed with the immediate, unconditional concern she always showed me. Of course, Monroe, what's wrong? You look pale. Perfect, this was it, showtime. I let out a long, theatrical sigh and looked down at my hands, as if I were ashamed. It's probably nothing. I'm sure I'm just being crazy and oversensitive. You know how I am. I was laying the groundwork, making myself the unreliable one, so she'd have to coax it out of me. Talk to me, she said, putting the fabric down and turning her whole body towards me. She was all in, just what I wanted. Okay, but you have to promise you won't freak out, I said, my heart starting to pound with a sick mix of fear and adrenaline. It's about Luca. I paused, letting his name hang in the air between us. I don't know if I'm misreading things, but sometimes when you're not in the room, the way he looks at me, it just feels intense. It lasts a second too long, it makes my skin crawl. I watched her face, searching for the reaction I craved. Shock, hurt, maybe a flash of jealousy. Her expression was unreadable. And I continued, pressing my advantage. He's been texting me. A lot. Just little things, asking how my day was, but the tone feels off. Like last week, he messaged me out of the blue asking if I was busy on Saturday. When I just said, not really, why? He just replied, good to know, with a winky face emoji. It was just weird. It felt like he was testing the waters, and it made me feel so disloyal to you. Every word was a calculated, venomous twist of the truth. Luca's texts were exclusively about planning Maddie's surprise 30th birthday party. The winky face was because he'd just secured the venue she wanted. But I presented it as a dark secret, a burden I was carrying to protect her. In that moment, I hated myself, but the thrill of being the center of her universe was overwhelming. I was the one with the power. I was waiting for her to break, to cry, to lean on me for support. I was ready to be her savior. But Maddie didn't break. She didn't cry or rage or ask a million frantic questions. The dramatic scene I had storyboarded in my mind, the one where she threw the magazines off the table and fell into my arms, sobbing about how she couldn't trust men, never happened. Instead, something far more terrifying occurred. She went still. It was like watching a switch being flipped. The warm, happy glow she'd been radiating just moments before vanished, extinguished. The color drained from her face, leaving her skin looking pale and waxy in the lamplight. She didn't look at me. Her eyes were fixed on the stupid ivory napkin swatch in her hand, but her focus was a million miles away. The silence in the room became a physical presence, heavy and suffocating. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantelpiece, each second stretching into an eternity. I started to panic. This wasn't the plan. Her silence was a blank wall I couldn't read, and it was infinitely more unnerving than the emotional explosion I had prepared for. Maddie, I prompted, my voice sounding thin and weak. Say something. She finally lifted her head and looked at me. Her eyes, usually so full of life and laughter, were flat, empty. It was like looking at a stranger. She held my gaze for what felt like a full minute, and in that moment, I felt like a bug under a microscope. I felt like she could see right through my flimsy performance, right into the ugly, jealous core of me. Then she blinked slowly. "I see," she said. Her voice was quiet, devoid of any emotion. It was the calm, detached voice you use with a telemarketer. "Thank you for telling me, Monroe." She stood up, smoothing down her jeans in a slow, deliberate motion. "I think I need to be alone for a bit. I have a lot to think about." And that was it. She walked me to the door, didn't hug me, and closed it gently behind me. I stood in the hallway of her apartment building, my heart hammering against my ribs. There was no fight, no drama, no resolution. Just a quiet, terrifying click of a lock. I had dropped a bomb, and instead of a fiery explosion, it had created a black hole, sucking all the warmth and noise out of my world. The 2 days of silence were agonizing. I swung wildly between self-righteous conviction and stomach-churning panic. One moment, I was convincing myself I'd done the right thing, that I was the brave friend protecting Maddie from a creep. The next, I was replaying her dead-eyed stare, the quiet click of the door, and I'd have to sit down before I threw up. I sent her a dozen texts. "Are you okay? Thinking of you. We'll get through this." All of them were delivered, but none were read. Then, on the third morning, my phone buzzed. It was Maddie. "Meet me at the daily grind. 2 p.m. Relief washed over me, so potent it made me dizzy. This was it. She'd had time to process, and now she needed me. I spent an hour getting ready, choosing an outfit that looked supportive and serious. I rehearsed my lines in the car. "Whatever you decide, I'm here for you, and you're strong enough to get through this." I was walking into that coffee shop ready to play the role of a lifetime. The rock, the confidant, the savior. The bell on the door chimed as I walked in, and I scanned the room for her. I saw her in a booth in the back, and my blood ran cold. Luca was sitting right next to her. He wasn't looking at me. He was stirring a cup of coffee, his movements calm and precise. Maddie was staring out the window. The air around their table was a vacuum. This wasn't a crisis meeting. It was an ambush. My ambush. I walked over, my legs feeling like they were made of concrete. "Hey," I said, my voice a pathetic squeak. Maddie didn't turn. Luca looked up, and his expression wasn't angry or hurt. It was neutral, clinical, like a doctor about to explain a terminal diagnosis. "Sit down, Monroe," he said. I slid into the booth opposite them. The cheerful chatter of the cafe around us felt like a cruel joke. Luca placed his phone on the table between us, screen up, and slid it over to me. It was open to his text conversation with me. "Scroll up," he said, his voice level. "Please." My hands were trembling as I did. There it was, all of it in black and white. His texts about planning Maddie's surprise party, my enthusiastic replies. The winky face emoji was next to a message that read, "Just booked the private room at Rossi's for Maddie's 30th. She's going to lose her mind." There were messages from him asking for her ring size when he was buying the engagement ring, asking if I thought she'd like a particular caterer. It was a complete, undeniable log of a man planning a future with the woman he loved, with the help of her best friend. "I have never looked at you with anything other than the respect I would show my fiancé's closest friend," Luca said, still in that unnervingly calm voice. "I have never texted you for any reason that did not involve making Maddie happy. I don't know why you said what you said. I don't actually care. But what I will not allow is for her to doubt my love for her, not for 1 second, because of a lie." I looked at Maddie, desperate. My mouth opened, but no words came out. What could I say? The proof was right there, glowing on the screen. She finally turned her head and looked at me. Her eyes were exhausted. "I've known you for 20 years, Monroe," she said, her voice barely a whisper, but it cut through the noise of the cafe like a razor. "I know your tells, I know your insecurities, I know you." She took a breath, and this is the part that will haunt me forever. I never thought you were capable of this. Of being this cruel." She stood up. Luca stood with her. They didn't wait for a response. They just turned and walked out of the coffee shop, leaving me alone in the booth with his phone, my reflection staring back at me from its dark screen. The cutoff was immediate and absolute. It wasn't a slow fade, it was an amputation. My number was blocked. My social media profiles were blocked. I was excised from their lives with surgical precision. The first few days, I was in a state of shock, checking my phone every 30 seconds, expecting a furious text, a tearful phone call, anything. But there was nothing, just a deafening, digital void where my best friend used to be. My next move was to scramble for my social safety net. I called our mutual friend, Olivia, and launched into a frantic, tear-soaked version of the story where I was the confused victim and Luca was a master manipulator. "I don't know what to believe," I sobbed into the phone. "He must have deleted the weird texts. Maddie is just so blinded by love she can't see it." Olivia's response was the first cold slap of reality. There was a long, uncomfortable pause on the other end of the line. "Monroe," she said, and her voice was laced with an unbearable pity. "Lucas sent everyone in the bridal party a group text explaining what happened. He attached screenshots." I felt the air leave my lungs. He hadn't just proven his innocence to Maddie. He had systematically dismantled my lie to the very people I would run to for support. We all just think it's best if we don't get in the middle of this," Olivia finished lamely. "Don't get in the middle" was code. I heard what she really meant. We're on her side. "You're the problem." The calls to other friends went similarly. No one was outright cruel. They didn't yell or call me names. It was worse. It was a wave of awkward, polite distancing. Invitations to our weekly brunch stopped coming. The group chat I'd been in for years went silent, and I later found out they'd simply started a new one without me. I wasn't excommunicated in a dramatic ceremony. I just ceased to be included. I had spent years performing on a social stage, and overnight the curtain had dropped, the lights had gone out, and the entire audience had quietly filed out of the theater, leaving me standing there alone. Months have passed. The world kept spinning, and Maddie's life, the one I tried to derail, accelerated into a kind of perfect, sun-drenched dream. All I can do is watch. My evenings have devolved into a sick, obsessive ritual. I sit in the dark, my only light the blue glow of my laptop screen, and I become a digital ghost. I can't see her direct profile, of course. I'm blocked. But I have a fake Instagram account with a generic name and a picture of a sunset. From there, I can see everything. I comb through the profiles of our mutual friends, the bridesmaids, her cousins. And there she is. I saw the photos from her bachelorette party, a weekend at a beach house that I was supposed to have planned. There were pictures of all the girls in matching swimsuits, raising champagne glasses. In the center of every photo was Maddie, radiant, surrounded by people who loved her. There was a space next to her in the big group shot where I should have been standing. Then came the wedding photos. They were tagged by the photographer, a treasure trove of my own personal hell. There she was, walking down the aisle, her father on her arm. There was Luca, tears in his eyes as he watched her approach. There was the first kiss, the first dance, the cake cutting. Every image is a masterpiece of joy, and every single one feels like a personal, deliberate stab to my heart. The worst part is seeing her new maid of honor, Olivia, giving a speech, holding Maddie's hand. I zoom in on the pictures, my breath held, torturing myself with the details. I see the laughter, the shared, knowing glances. I see a friendship that is thriving in the vacuum left by my absence. Last night I hit a new low. Maddie posted a photo. It was a simple one, just her and Luca on a couch, their dog sleeping between them. The caption read, "Finally a quiet night in with my husband. So grateful for this peaceful life." Husband, peaceful. The words twisted in my gut. I created chaos, hoping to make myself essential. Instead, I just proved how unnecessary I was. They found their peace by removing me. I look at that photo, at their quiet, perfect happiness, and I just keep refreshing the page over and over as if a different reality might load this time. But it never does. I'm just here in the dark, a stalker of the life that was supposed to be mine, too. The only audience left for my pathetic one-woman show.